bis zum 2. August.
And so it's very much easier to produce a rotating magnetic field. Field in this space is the vector addition of the fields produced by these various coils. Now, most induction motors contain 3 pairs of coils, or 3 fields with 120 degrees to each other. And this is because the mains field, the mains current, is generated in 3 phases, which is just what's needed for a 3-phase motor. But you don't need 3 phases. You can make an induction motor with only 2 phases and 2 fields at right angles. So what I want to do first of all, as I showed you at the beginning of the program. Here we've got 2 coils at right angles to each other. They're both being driven by sinusoidal currents, and the result is that this little coil of copper wire, with no connections to it, placed in that field, is caused to rotate by these fields. Now the question is, how does this come about? And I want to explain this by an analogy with electric voltages applied to the plates of an oscilloscope. So let's have a look at this oscilloscope. Here we've got 2 sinusoidal waveforms. They're at the same frequency, but they differ in phase by 90 degrees. Now, to simulate the behavior of the induction motor, I've got to take these 2 waveforms and apply them, one to the X plates and one to the Y plates. At the moment, they're both applied to the Y plates with a time base so that you can see that they have a phase relationship with each other. But now if I put them on the 2 pairs of plates separately, the result is the circle is being generated. If you can't see at the moment that this is a circular field, a rotating field, so if I reduce the frequency to a much lower frequency, about 1 cycle per second, you can now see that the spot on the oscilloscope screen is rotating. And what's happening is that one voltage is being applied to the X plates, and so moving the spot from side to side, as you can see at the moment. The other voltage is being applied to the Y plates, and it's moving it up and down. If I apply the voltage to both plates, and if they are out of phase, the result is that the spot rotates. Now let's think for a moment what this spot represents. The position of the spot relative to the 0 point is the voltage that's being applied to it. So it's being moved up and down and from side to side. But since it's moving in a circle, this means that the strength of the field is remaining the same. But the direction of the field is being rotated as a result of the difference of phase between the 2 sinusoids. And this is exactly what happens in an induction motor. We have 2 sinusoidal currents applied to the coils at right angles, X and Y plates. One is delayed with respect to the other. In this case, we have this coil, the current is delayed with respect to that one, and I know that because the coil's going that way round. It comes to this one first and then to that one. If I reverse the current in the second coil, then I'll reverse the phase of one of the sinusoids, which will mean that it's now preceding the phase of this one, which before it lagged behind. As you can see, the coil is slowing down because it's now not going with the field, it was going against it, and it speeds up in the opposite direction now with a reverse rotating field. So, you can now see that if you add these 2 waveforms in one central space where the coil is, you can produce a rotating magnetic field. That's the first point I wanted to make. Now the second point relates to ping pong balls being carried along in the trough of a travelling wave. The point is this, that it's not a true analogy in that the coil in an induction motor always lags behind the wave a little bit. If it were not the case, there would be no current induced in the coil and there would be no force applied to it. You remember Faraday's law states that EMF induced in a coil is proportional to the rate of change of field. But it's a change of field of the coil relative to the magnetic field. A change of field of the coil relative to the magnetic field. So that if the two are rotating at exactly the same rate, there will be no voltage induced in the coil, no current will flow, no magnetic force will act on it, and it won't rotate. But actually it slips behind a little bit, experiences a force, and rotates.
One way of explaining how this happens is to imagine that the flow of electricity through the coils is producing a wave-like effect, which will carry things along with it. This wave will carry a ball. It's an idea that has led to the linear motor, a device which could form the basis of a transport system in the future.
I'm going to...
This is a flat aluminium plate. Somehow, an effect produced by an electric current is causing it to float in space. We can do the same thing with this aluminium ring. We can even make the ring jump in the air. It's an effect that seems to be produced by pushing a particular kind of current through coils of wire. By arranging a number of coils in a line, we can make a piece of aluminium float and travel over them. One way of explaining how this happens is to imagine that the flow of electricity through the coils is producing a wave-like effect, which will carry things along with it.
Your help to win our success is needed. We are the tomorrow's people.
flying saucer theme has inspired a British researcher, John Searle, to provide an alternative to our noisy and stinky means of transportation. Since 1968, he's been designing models of what he calls a levitation disc named Starship Ezekiel, which actually flies. I've seen photographs of it, and breaks all the rules of conventional physics. It looks very much like a flying saucer. It's made of totally new materials. Motion can't be felt from the side. It makes a sharp 90-degree turns and shines strangely in the atmosphere.
Well, that's all we're willing to show you. There are many more things we would love to show you that we have been working on. A few examples are an anti-gravity technology. Yep, you walk into a room and push a button on the wall and you slowly rise to the ceiling, and then you push a button on the ceiling and you slowly lower yourself back to the floor. And you're not in a spacesuit and you're not in a vacuum, but you are indeed in anti-gravity. I've experienced that. A propulsion device. Each 7 horsepower of drive makes a G of force, which is the force it takes to levitate 1,000 pounds. Imagine putting your car in deep space using the engine that is in it and the driveway for the launching pad. That, by the way, is possible. Refrigeration with no refrigerant that can make one kitchen appliance that does every hot and cold function for your home. Washes and dries your clothes, refrigerates and cooks your food, heats and cools your home, and does literally everything. People have gotten all pushed out of shape because we say we know how to make free electricity. We actually know 8 ways to make free electricity. I will mention, plus a whole lot more that I will keep to myself. The educated idiots are talking about almost useless solar power and impractical wind power and expensive and environmentally damaging hydroelectric, and don't forget dangerous nuclear power plants. You compare. There are other ways we can make free electricity besides low temperature phase change, the Fisher hydraulic engine cycle, the permanent magnet hummingbird Sundance combination, the neutrino circuit, the momentum drive, the open-ended universal use of gravitational forces, free-flowing electrons from unique electron alignment, and non-polluting, inexpensive chemical reactions. In addition to our research, other researchers are pursuing what they call over-unity devices, but I am confident there is no such thing. Just free energy sources like what we discovered, as in the case of the scalar wave technology of Dr. Tom Bearden, who we have a lot of respect for, or Nikola Tesla's ionospheric dielectric free electricity technology that could have kept us all off Edison and J.P. Morgan's grid system in the first place. Do not get me started. Among the other things we are not showing you yet, we have been working on a technology to send any amount of live electricity any distance whatsoever with no wires and get 100% of it there. Free energy elevator lifts. Freight movement on belts that make anything pretty much weightless. Computer programs that turn a speech in English into every known language in the world automatically so that anyone can listen in their own language. We call it the Pentecost program for obvious reasons. Farm gold and other abundant precious metals in the ocean at no cost by using the nature of the ocean for energy. Turn ordinary metals into precious metals by transmutating the nucleus of atoms. By the way, the geniuses who say that is impossible could perhaps tell me how chickens do it every time they lay an egg. Separate metals by smelting them with argas. Locate and follow gold veins in mining by looking right through the ground. Remineralize the soil for farming without having to plow the field under on the 7th year. Bring an unlimited supply of fresh water anywhere in the world it is needed. Low-cost housing that lasts for thousands of years with absolutely no maintenance. Ships and submarines take their power from the water that they actually pass through. Land vehicles take their power from the air that they pass through. Jet planes, tanks, and all vehicles can run on water while oxygenating the air as they do it. Our gas can create any size vacuums to transport materials rapidly over great distances through suction tubes or gas through gas lines. Dematerialize inanimate matter and send it over wires across the country to rematerialize it when it gets there. Yes, that is indeed possible. Cell phones that use the bands of the earth to provide absolutely free wireless and untappable communications. Incredible new battery systems that don't ever wear out. Furniture and cabinets made from recycled plastic. The ability to capture asteroids, bring them back from deep space, lower them through the atmosphere slowly without burning them up, and then farm the minerals from the richest source of minerals we know of. I know that some of this sounds incredible, but look at what we have already proven. I wish I could show you or even discuss the other 80% of what has been revealed to us thus far. God only knows what else is out there that we have not yet discovered. It is difficult enough for us to learn about what God has provided, but when what we have learned is being deliberately withheld from us by those who profit the most by our existence and our free enterprise system, that should not be tolerated. There is a lot for universities in America to be ashamed of. The leaders at the top of those institutions know the truth. Their benefactors have paid a bundle to keep their students from getting full knowledge. Those who have attended those universities should be demanding their money back. Of course, they do not know what they have not been taught. A doctor at Harvard gets 1 hour of nutrition and 1,000 or more hours of pharmacology. No wonder they're all drug pushers. It's not their fault any more than the fact that electric motors are being improperly wound by trained technicians. Someone said that I am thinking there is a conspiracy, as if that were some sort of ridiculous assertion. Folks, I know there is a conspiracy, and you need to wake up and realize that this is not funny at all. It is your advancement. It's your future that is being stolen from you to help big business continue to exploit yesterday's technologies and keep you from the world God intended for you and your family to enjoy. Big business is in dire need of a good fanny kicking, and we at Better World Technologies, with your help, intend to give it to them. If after watching this video and reading the alternative book, you believe that we are con men, then you can mail these materials back to me and I will personally refund you whatever they cost you. Perhaps you've heard the phrase, people get the government they deserve. It should be obvious that we are sincere and that we are also capable. Our critics have a world order to preserve. They work hard to get you stuck on concentrating on something other than the fact that you are being lied to by those who are employed for the express purpose of perpetuating those lies. Of course, this includes public officials who are the worst liars of all. Some people are gullible enough to believe our critics when they deny their part in this conspiracy. If just about everything you are buying is fraudulent, then what more evidence of this massive lie do you need? There truly is a con going on, and you, the consumer, are the one being conned. The fact is that because we have been willing against all odds to stand up to these bullies, you do now have a chance, and you have a choice. We are your alternative. You can either support us or stay with big business and the politicians who the big business owners own, who in turn own the judges and the best media that money can buy, that is used to get those politicians elected, and that also deceive the public on behalf of their big business bosses. How could there be any doubt this is a conspiracy? How could there be any doubt we have been abused by those traitors? Why would you buy into that nonsense? We are here for you if you want us. Who else can offer you a way out of this web of deceit? We need you to overcome the system that has grown so powerful and invisible to the public. It is an entrenched conspiracy, but it does have limits. It will still change rather than be exposed. Help us change it while it is still possible to do so. This is your wake-up call. It is doubtful that anyone else will come if you let us be swallowed up. You cannot do this without us, and we cannot do it without you. A lot depends on your decision. So decide. We have already chosen to pay any price to be here for you if you want us to. The final decision, my friend, is yours.